People always forget about the markup. You don't just have to times it by 2, guys. You can times it by more than that if you want. Like, there's a method behind it. Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be all about how you can price your products. So if that's of interest to you, then please carry on watching. But before you do that, like and subscribe to my channel. Your support really helps me. So yeah, let's get to it. Okay, so before we get into this, you're probably wondering, who is this girl and why does she have the authority to tell me how to price my products? I'm Jade. I own 2 boutiques. One is a swimwear boutique, one is a bag boutique, and that obviously requires me to price my products on a regular basis. In addition to this, I actually learned quite a lot about how to price your products back when I was at uni. So I'm going back in time a bit, not too long ago. You know, don't want to pretend like I'm super old. No, I'm kidding, it was a while ago. And I actually revisited some of my books, which actually taught me about the strategies behind pricing, specifically for this video, because I wanted to make sure it was really informed and just super useful and helpful to you guys. So if you're interested in how you actually arrive at a good price for your products, then carry on watching. I'm going to be spilling the tea. So, first part of this video, I'm going to be talking about how you arrive at the minimum cost for your products. So this is how much this product actually costs you to purchase. One of the key things here, which people forget all the time, well actually it's not one thing, there's loads of key things, is it costs more, like your product costs more than what the wholesaler is selling to you. If the wholesaler is saying that this product, so let's talk about a bag, this product is £10, the product is not £10. They're selling you it for £10, but there are significantly more costs that you will incur. Oh my God, why did that take me so long? As a result of purchasing this product. So by no means, if there's one thing what you take from this video, please let it be that you cannot decide how much to mark up your product by purely off the back of how much the wholesaler is pricing it at. That is not how you can arrive at a profitable price for your products. So I'm gonna break down all the different costs what go into this one product so that we can arrive at a whole figure of how much this product actually costs you to purchase. And then that's when we're gonna talk about how you decide how much you should be marking up your products by. So, let's take an example of one of my bags, right? Say this bag is being sold by a wholesaler for £10. It's just a nice round number. So let's just start with £10. You think, okay, great, this is a bargain. I'm gonna resell this on for 30 quid. I'm gonna make loads of money. I'm gonna times it by 3 and that's gonna be my markup. What you're forgetting is all the different things what come into play, right? So one of the main things which you're going to have to purchase in addition to the actual bag is the inbound shipping. So how much money you are actually spending for that product to arrive at your home. If you're purchasing from abroad, which a lot of people do, for example, from China, the shipping is not going to be cheap. And what you have to make sure you're doing is when you're placing an order, if you're buying a ton of different stuff and you know the order value is worth £500, you've got to look at how much the shipping is. So say the shipping is £60, that's actually quite cheap. The shipping's probably going to be about 100 quid. You need to divide the amount of items that you're purchasing by how much the shipping cost is so that you can figure out realistically how much it costs to ship each of those items that you've purchased by item. Don't just think this £60 shipping cost is a separate cost and I'm not going to think about it. You need to figure out how that's actually impacting the cost of your item. So as I said, you've purchased a bag for £10. You've worked out that actually that shipping is working out at about £4, that's a bit much, £2 per bag or per item. So now the total cost of your bag is actually £12. Fine, you're still thinking, great profit if I sell it for 30 quid. That's not made many differences for me. Let's just hold on for 1 second. Because in addition to the inbound shipping, you also have to pay for the outbound shipping. So this is how much you're actually going to be spending to ship out this bag to the lucky customer who's purchased it from you. What's key to note here, and this depends on your policies, but what I would generally recommend is that you either offer free shipping or subsidized shipping. So in example, I offer free shipping to UK because obviously it's cheaper for me to ship to the UK, which means that I'm absorbing about £3.20 from every single order because that's how much it's actually costing me to ship that price out, and that is not being passed on to the customer in the sense of a shipping cost, right? I also reduce the amount of the shipping charge for shipping abroad. So where it might actually cost me £7 to ship a bag to Germany, I might only charge the customer £4 or £3, which means that I'm absorbing a chunk of the cost. Same goes for US. I always absorb a big amount for shipping to the US because it is so expensive at the minute. It's like £17. It's mad. So instead of charging a customer from the US £17, because realistically they're not going to pay that, I will reduce that amount and I will absorb that cost. What that means is that has to be factored in to how much you are charging for your product, right? Because you still need to make profit. So for the purpose of this example, let's say that you are absorbing £3 of the cost per item, which means that your total cost for your bag is now £15. Another cost in relation to shipping that you need to think about is your customs fees. This delightful little surprising bill that comes for your post every so often, which you always forget about if you're me, and then you always get really annoyed about when it arrives. Again, this is going to be applicable for when you are purchasing items from abroad. What it basically means is that a lot of the time you've got to pay your courier, FedEx, UPS, whoever it is, a nice chunk of money to clear the customs fees. And sometimes you can't actually receive the products until you have actually paid this fee off. So I recommend not doing what I do and forget about it and actually pay it straight away. But what I also recommend doing is every time you get the bill through, like I advised with the inbound shipping costs, figure out how much that is actually affecting each item that you've purchased. So if that bill is £100, work out how much additional money that is adding on to the price of each of your products. So for this example, let's say it adds on a cost of £2 per product, which means that bag is now cost you £17, right? The next thing that you need to think about is going to be the packaging. So, I mean, I've spoken about this before. You might want to go super bougie, which is great. Recommend it. It really, really helps perceive your products as really high quality. If you do that, just remember that bougie packaging is not cheap. If you want to purchase really high quality packaging and you want to buy all the bells and whistles, so you want to have a ribbon around it, you want to have business cards in it, you want to have custom tags in it, you want to have tissue paper, you want to have like confetti. I don't recommend putting confetti in it because how annoying is it when that just pops out from your parcels? Anyway, if you want to do all of the bells and whistles, great. That's going to cost you money. And what you need to be doing is figuring out, again, I'm a broken record, how much you are paying for all of that shipping and what that translates down to in terms of your cost per product. So you might think, oh, I just spent £30 on 100 boxes and just compartmentalize that price and put it somewhere else in your mind. What you need to do is figure out how much that actually affects your price per unit. So let's say that you're doing some really, really bougie packaging and it costs you £3 per order in order to actually pay for all that packaging, right? So you need to add that £3 onto your cost of your product, which means that, did I get to £17? I think I got £70, which means that your product is now actually cost 20 quid. So now you're thinking, oh, I'm not sure if reselling for £30 was the best idea. Well, we're not done. There's more costs to think about. So the other cost that you need to think about is your time. And this is something what a lot of people don't factor into their price per unit. You don't have to factor this in, but I recommend it. So figure out how much you want to be paid for all of this manual labor that you are doing and when it comes to shipping and packing boxes. So sometimes it's worth thinking about this in terms of a per hour basis. So maybe you want to pay yourself £30 per hour when it comes to fulfilling your orders and shipping, right? So let's say that you want to pay yourself £30 per hour, and within that hour you can pack 20 boxes. So let's do 30 divided by 20 works out at £1.50 per box. Add that onto the price of your products. So add on another £1.50, which brings our total up to £21.50 for this one bag. It's £21.50. Ridiculous, right? So much more expensive than you were anticipating. You don't even know if you want it anymore. Don't fret. There's still profit to be made. And if you've done your research when it comes to your suppliers and the products you're buying, and as long as the products are still good quality, there's still money to be made on this item. So let's move on to the markup and let's talk about how you actually figure out how much you should be charging for that £21.50 bag. So in my opinion, there are 3 different things that you need to think about when it comes to determining how much you can mark up your products by. The first thing is the audience. Defining your target audience is a whole nother video. But briefly, if you've started a boutique and you've got to the stage where you're purchasing products, I would like to think that you have spent some time building your audience profiles. So that basically means doing a deep dive into who it is you're trying to target with your brand. Who are your customers? Why are they going to shop from you? What are their spending habits? How much money do they earn per year? Are they a student? How much disposable income do they have? Do they have a family? Etc, etc. When you've broken this down, you should have arrived at a good profile of what your ideal customer looks like. The reason why this impacts your markup is because if you are targeting a audience group who are millennials, no, not millennials, that's me. An audience group who are, for example, Gen Z, right? So those are the young'uns. Say you're targeting Gen Z and you're thinking about your ideal customer being 20 years old, they're a uni student, they do not have a lot of disposable income, they might not have an income at all. If you're targeting your products at them, it would be smart to realize that they're not going to spend a lot of money on your products. So realistically, you should be doing the minimum markup, which in my eyes is basically times 2. So in the idea of this bag being £21.50, you want to times that £21.50, which will take you to £43, which will give you a profit of £21.50 per item, right? That, in my eyes, is a fair markup. You can do a lot less than that if you wanted to, especially when you're a big brand and you're going to be shipping out a lot of items. When that's the case, you could probably afford to drop your margin or your markup a little bit more. However, it's always just worth thinking about who your audience are. If you feel like they can't afford that times 2 markup, then maybe you do need to drop it a bit. Or maybe you're purchasing the wrong products for that audience. If you're going to be targeting a very wealthy audience who have loads of disposable income, lucky buggers, then you could probably afford to mark it up even more than that. You still want to also always make sure that what you're selling, the price you're selling your items at, is equal to the quality of your items. But if you've got good quality items and you're targeting a very well-off audience, then don't be afraid to times that by 3 or maybe even 3.5 in order to arrive at the total cost that you'll be selling your products for. The next thing that you want to be looking at and considering is your competitors. This is a bit of a tricky one, and I advise caution on this because it's always worth looking at your competitors and figuring out how much they're charging. And I think the general term for this is like the going rate for different items, right? Doing your competitor research should be part of your initial process of starting your boutique anyway, so you should have a good idea. But it's also always worth revisiting your competitors. What are they selling your products for, especially when you're a boutique and you're selling items which other brands are selling, so they're selling the exact same products as you got to have a look at them and figure out how much they're selling. The reason why I advise caution on this is because you don't want to get into a pricing war with some of your competitors, right? A good example is the likes of Shein. Shein sell a lot of items which I've seen on different wholesalers' websites. So there are a lot of different boutiques which are selling the same products which Shein are selling. Shein are a ridiculously big fast fashion company. They churn out a huge amount of orders per day. They therefore probably have great buying power, which basically means that when they're purchasing from these wholesalers, they probably get it at a far cheaper rate than what you do because you're small, and there's less of an incentive for a wholesaler to reduce their prices for you. So not only are Shein purchasing the same products that you're purchasing at a far lower rate, they're also churning them out a lot quicker, which means that they can generally reduce their profit margin because the quantity of orders that they're getting makes up for that. So they're purchasing this bikini or this dress for half the amount that you're purchasing it for, and then they're charging it for even less because they've got a smaller markup, which means that you might purchase a dress that Shein is selling and you want to sell it for £45 and Shein is selling it for £12. You can't compete with that type of prices. It does not make sense for you to then drop your price to £12. You can't compete with that. What I would recommend is avoid selling stuff which Shein are selling in general. But if that can't be done, then really focus on building your brand, because your brand is what sets you apart from anyone else, from the likes of Shein. And if you have a good brand which is perceived as high quality, then you can afford to charge more money for your products. That actually brings me quite swiftly on to the third thing that you need to consider, which is your brand. As I mentioned, premium brands charge premium prices, and a lot of people will tell you, like, don't be afraid to charge a markup or charge a good amount of money for your product, especially for the people who are in the service-based industry. You decide if your brand is perceived at premium, and how you do that and how you communicate that is through your website, it's through your marketing, it's through your customer service. There are other ways that you can add value to your customers. So if you do want to charge more money, you could 100% do that. You just want to make sure that your brand is being perceived in a premium light, and then you can sell your products to a premium market. Okay, so I'm almost done, but I just want to give you a bonus tip or a bonus consideration, if you will. And that consideration is your discounting. So obviously we arrived at a minimum amount that you need to be selling your products for, which you always need to refer back to, unless you're doing a clearance sale and you just need to get rid of stuff and you're willing to take a bit of a loss, fair enough. But you've always got to bear that minimum price in mind, especially when you are discounting. So you need to work out what is the maximum discount that I can give off of my site in order for me to still break even or make profit. And one big thing what you need to bear in mind is, if you're anything like me and you offer anyone who joins your mailing list 10% off their orders, you've got to realize that at small brands, a lot of people will be new to your brand and therefore be joining your membership list for that 10% off, which means that a huge chunk of your sales will be purchased with a discount. So factor that into what your profit is and what your markup is, to make sure that you don't shoot yourself in the foot by offering these discounts to basically anyone who comes on your site for the first time, and then realizing that actually you're not making any money because everyone's using that new joiner discount, right? So just bear that in mind. Those are all of my tips. I really hope they were useful. If you have any questions or anything else you want to talk to me about, then drop me a DM, drop me an email, comment below, you know the works. So thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for my next video. I will see you on the next one.